A reminder, y'all, when we talk hockey, it's brought to you by Common Crown Brewing out of Calgary, turning your everyday common beer into a unique and exceptional experience. Check them out, why don't you, at commoncrown.ca. Okay, Munz joins us now. He needs no introduction. They're all excited to have you on. Oh, you took a break from hitting balls, did you, Munz, to join us? I thank you for that.
I did.
How are you, sir?
I did. Simulators right here. 2 of them.
I see that. Those things ain't
Life's
cheap,
good.
man. They work good?
No. They're awesome. You know what? So this in here is our sport performance center we have for our junior golfers. And just like Golf Saskatchewan has in every region across Canada, trying to give our players an opportunity to compete and win a national championship one day. So as we all know, here on the prairies, you can't play golf outside this time of the year. So over the last few years, with some generous support, we've been able to put this in, and it's now pretty much done. I would say that the last 3-4 weeks have kind of put the finishing touches on it, and here we are. So it does give us a nice break during the day. You want to sneak down the odd time and maybe hit a small bucket. It's good. So probably no excuses by the time I hit the course outside in May.
I'm glad to hear that everything's going so great, and I relished our phone chat here recently. It had been far too long, Munz with Golf Manitoba. Listen, before we talk about this Jets stuff, how much of the Sabres-Panthers did you watch last night? Because you remind me a lot of myself. You cheer for players as much or more than teams. You had some good buddies playing in the game, Peyton Krebs and Zach Benson for the Sabres.
Yeah, so Peyton was 1 year before me with the Winnipeg Ice, but obviously connected with him a little bit from an alumni standpoint. But yeah, I watch as many Sabre games as I can. And you're right. Like, I don't cheer for one specific team anymore. It is who you know on various rosters. And you and I are getting older now, so I think we follow the coaches maybe more than the players, because those are guys that are more our age. And that's just kind of the way it is. But being back in the Western Hockey League for the last couple of years, there's no doubt that my love for junior hockey and the intrigue for younger players is back more than it ever was, because when you're working for an NHL club, you're focused on exactly what that 23, 24-man roster is. And you know the young players that get drafted or a year or two into their tenure with the team have a long way to go. So I don't want to say they get forgotten, but you do focus on the stars. And obviously, if you've got Connor McDavid or Leon Draisaitl like they do in Edmonton, Drew Doughty for numbers of years in Los Angeles, or even Mark Scheifele and Nikolai Ehlers here in Winnipeg, those are the guys that you would watch more often than not. But I do find myself now, I watched the last 2 periods of the Panthers-Sabre game last night because Zach was playing and saw he got an early penalty call and wanted to kind of get up to date on what was going on there. And obviously, I know Paul Maurice from his time here in Winnipeg. Logan Stankoven has scored in back-to-back games now with the Dallas Stars since coming up from the American Hockey League. Saw him with Kamloops. So those are the neat stories that I think, Rod, take us back to when you and I first met, when you were the voice of the Raiders and I was in Melfort calling the SJHL, is you watch those guys progress and you kind of have a bit of a vested interest in their future after that, because you were there when they were young and you watch them grow up both on and off the ice.
Well, I could talk to you forever about Zach Benson alone. Like last night, he was awesome. But the team, nobody can figure out why they're so bad. I think it's because they just don't know how to win. And I had a scout tell me when they interviewed him last year, they asked him specifically about Connor Bedard. And the scout goes, I won't tell you what he said. I get the sense he didn't like living in Connor's shadow too much.
Well, I don't know about that, because they're really close friends. Like, they grew up together in Greater Vancouver, right? So they spent a lot of time. Andrew Crystal from Kelowna, and there was one other guy in that group. Forgive me, I can't remember who it is right now. But, you know, that nucleus of players that were selected high in this past summer's draft all grew up together and spent tons of time together. So I don't know if I would say that Zach was kind of tired of being in Connor's shadows, but he was good enough to cast his own. And that was the thing that I probably grew the greatest amount of, you know, love for the kid both on and off the ice, is watching him every day going through. He's a really good hockey player. And that's why in his first year of eligibility, he's full-time member of the Buffalo Sabres. So it's fun to watch. It's the same now as watching what Connor Geeky's doing in Swift Current, Matt Savoy with the Moose Jaw Warriors. You know, all of these guys, Carson Lambos in his first full year now in the American Hockey League with Iowa, Minnesota's teams, those are the guys that you end up working with from a PR standpoint the most. So you get a chance to watch their careers and whether they keep playing pro or whether they move on like Jake and Smallwood and Connor McLennan have to the Alberta Golden Bears in Canada West or wherever it may be. You know, you're a piece of those guys when they're young and it's fun to watch them develop and you grow close to them.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know hockey people as well as me. And in a way, we are them. But we're not operations people, scouts and coaches, what I'm saying. And so I'm like, what inference am I supposed to take that this scout, you know, I'm not saying it to you, I'm saying it to him. I'm not going to tell you what Zach Benson said when I asked him about Bedard. Okay, I'll have to guess then. By the way, given the fact that you're in Winnipeg and your long time ties with Winnipeg hockey, period, what was your take on Gary Bettman's statement on Tuesday?
Well, first and foremost, I understand why there's a bit of a fire burning here in the city right now because the building's not full. And they've got a really good hockey team. I think last night they moved back into first place. They've been in that battle all season long with Dallas and Colorado for top spot 1, 2, 3 on their side for a wild card playoff spot. And I think that's going to continue right down to the wire. But when the building's not full, I guess the bottom line for me is this isn't 2011 anymore. And fans have found other things to do. And the Jets know that. The Moose know that. Your corporate dollar isn't spent the same way now that it was when the NHL returned and the team moved from Atlanta. So is it a bit of a wake-up call for True North? Probably. But there's a lot of really smart people that are in that organization that are also taking note right now. And I know there's surveys going out. There's phone calls being made to past season ticket holders saying, why aren't you back? What can we do for you? And I think that's the most important thing right now is, the city is in I don't want to say a rut, but it's in a different spot than it is right now. But the one thing that I think is really exciting for everybody that watches this team, and I don't go to as many games just because I've got busy times with my job here and following my family, but I get to a number of the games, and the fun part about it is you still walk in that rink, and they have a Stanley Cup contender on the ice. And I think as we get into the last month or so here of regular season play, that you're going to see that upper bowl full again because people are excited about what could be for this team when they get to the Stanley Cup playoffs because they're that good.
You wanted to get a plug in for the Humboldt Broncos Memorial Golf Tourney. You got a date? You got something to say?
Yeah, August 10th, we're set to go. Our 7th year. Jared Bednar, the head coach in Colorado, and Laurie Warford and I continue to put it on. So want to remind everybody that it is coming up this summer. We will have registration open to everybody coming up on May 2nd. Our corporate partners and people that have more or less been with us since day one have first right now. And then, like I said, May 2, the doors will open, and we expect to be sold out and have another great weekend coming up this summer honoring that 2018 team.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on, Munzy. Hope we can do it more. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Anytime, Rod. Take care.
Brian Munz joining us from Manitoba.